Okay, so all I've done is I turned my air pressure back on, left the compressor running, and I went and I just turned the crank just a little bit. And you can hear a lot of air bypassing blowing through. But look at how much I'm holding. And all I did was just barely turn the crank some. So I'm in a different spot, one that's further up on the stroke and it seals a little better. Okay, I blew some stuff out. Wow, that's really nice. Let's see what we got now. Wow, that's a lot better, huh? Just a little change. So I got my wrench on over here, and I'm going to move it some more just so you can kind of see what happens. Oh. Oh, there we go. Now look, just barely moved it. Oh, I'm moving the engine too now. A lot of pressure on it. Now it's sealing pretty nice, and I'm going to let go of that. And look, there we go. Now you can hear it's leaking more. It's still holding pretty good, but you can hear it leaking. So, anyways, I'll turn that pressure down. Alright, so there we have it. Looks like everything's sealed good. I don't have any vent valves or valve seat problems. Got other stuff I got to clean up. But what I just showed you there, and this is what I found on these engines, is that when they're down, when this thing pushes down with the air pressure and it pushes the piston down, your valves and everything can be fine. You know, these, and you know, I blew some crap out when I let air out, but your valves will be fine. But there's something about these engines, it's almost like the cylinder's got this taper to it. And I haven't seen it on other engines, just these. But when it's at the very bottom, it leaks a fair bit when the piston's all the way down. Now, when it's up at the top, that's also where it's about the best. And even in between the stroke, you know, coming up and down in here, it'll leak a little bit more. So what I've found with these engines is that they have the best compression when they're up at the top, and it's not as good when they're at the bottom. And I guess that's an intentional design feature, and makes sense because you need the best compression up at the top and not at the bottom. But it's kind of annoying because, you know, when you pressurize these to check them, especially if you run up to 100 psi to really blow some junk out or check them, it wants to push the piston all the way down, but then it leaks. So you have to pretty much turn the piston up, get a big long breaker bar on it, and kind of hold it there or hold it somewhere partway up. And then you can pressurize it if you're really trying to get accurate leak down check numbers. I didn't care about that as much. I just wanted to make sure that these were actually holding pressure, and you know, it looked like it was approximately right. And you know, through going through this process, I did find that there was a little bit of junk that had to get blown out from underneath a couple of these, which probably would have happened fine if you just went to start it up without me doing all this. But now I know, I've gone through and checked this engine. I don't need to pull this head and know what was going on with it. Somebody really botched a bunch of things up, and the rocker's broke, and that's what's wrong with it. It's not like it has a warped head or blown head gasket, and that's why the Jeep ended up in the junkyard. I can make a pretty educated guess about why that happened, because when those two rockers broke, this thing stopped running right, and you could not drive it anymore.